I was recently asked about the run, walk, run method. That's something that I learned from my Garmin smart device connecting me to a coach. This is the second coach that I've used from the Garmin smartwatch device, and this is the first time that I was introduced to the run, walk, run method. And I apologize if I get the name wrong. I will link to the original video that talks about this method, but the person who taught the method and at least coined it well enough to have gotten pretty popular for having done so is Jeff Galloway. And the purpose of that method is to be able to experience longer time on your feet and further distances, because you're essentially walking well in advance of getting tired. And the way that I started to incorporate the method was that I would just run when I felt like it. Like, first of all, the workouts on your Garmin device will have you sometimes warm up for 10 minutes. And after your warm up, then basically you can start running or doing whatever the watch is prompting you to. But with this training segment, after my warm up, I'm given the option to do a run, walk, run interval or effort, I should say, for whatever the assigned distance is.
In this case, there's a 10-minute warm-up, a 5.5-mile run-walk-run effort, and a 10-minute cool-down, as you can see on the screen here.
The long run is basically supposed to be an easy run, and you're just supposed to put in as much distance as you can. And it's hard to put in a lot of distance if you get worn out early on. So once again, as you can see, I've got my headphones here, and part of the reason why I'm starting to try to find the right way to run with headphones is because, as many of you know, one of my other passions is making music. And although in the past I hadn't really found my voice and I hadn't really been able to sing confidently, I was singing from a place of concern where I wanted to vibe with my own tribe. I try to tell you how I feel. Thank you so much for listening to these super long, disconnected messages that really are so connected that that's why you can't stop yourself from watching.
Today I'll be trying out some New Balance Fresh Foam, but before then I'm going to head over to the monkey bars to do some modified pull-ups, and then it's on to the run, walk, run experience. In some cases you would think it would take me miles and miles to capture footage like this, but as you'll see in a moment, I had to stop to retie the shoes I'm wearing on this particular day. And no matter where I was, there was just debris, like as if someone was just emptying trash cans for the first mile that I was walking on these trails. I also oftentimes encounter signs of creativity and beauty along the way that people share with one another. Occasionally I'll see wildlife, including foxes, snakes, squirrels, lizards, other things, deer, as you're seeing here. And sometimes it's hard to capture this because my hands will be so sweaty that it's hard to activate the touchscreen on my mobile device. Recently spent bullet casings are also a frequent occurrence on these trails more and more recently. So I feel at some point I'm going to run across somebody who has the firearms that are discharging these shells. Time will tell. Here's one of the several varieties of lizards that I mentioned seeing. Do you see it? On this particular day, trying these new shoes resulted in some unusual blistering, and so I did a little bit more walking than running on this effort. where basically I'd gone approximately 7 miles by this point in the video that you're watching right now. And then before I knew it, I'd gone over 10 miles. For this run, walk, run effort, my pace was a little different than normal. However, I still got in some upper heart rate effort, and I got in a great distance for my long run at a very leisurely pace. And you'll see all that information and then some on these screens that flash by at the end of your race on the Garmin device that I'm wearing. Now, I don't necessarily need a device going forward to put in any efforts or know how it is that my body's responding to what's going on. It is very convenient, though, to have this data while I've got the opportunity to use this smart device. So I went 10.39 miles.
Well, I didn't make it the half marathon distance that I thought I would if I was feeling really good, but I did go 10.39 miles in 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I was pretty much on track to do 4 miles per hour each hour. And I hope to complete my marathon within about 6.5 hours. So I feel like I'm on that pace, at a 4 mile an hour pace. The only thing is that so far I've only been able to do that pace for about 3 hours. It's not that I haven't had the time to do it, it's that every time I do it, my feet feel pretty, not so pretty. And a few weeks ago when I did this, the half marathon distance, I did end up getting blisters on 2 of my toes, and it was on the same toe on each foot. And it was a toe that I wouldn't have thought would have blistered, but they blistered. Anyway, since that point in time, I've been trying to keep my miles right at the threshold of making sure that I don't re-injure that blister while the blister is wearing away naturally. Some people will talk about popping blisters and doing this and that. I've had a lot of luck just dipping my feet in some super hot water, washing my feet. There's probably a lot to the washing of the feet that was covered in things such as the books of peace. And some of us are pretty acclimated to just taking showers and aren't really good at balancing anyway. And so some of us aren't washing our feet the way that we should. So I recommend to you, if you haven't done that in a while, maybe sit carefully on the edge of a tub or some other structure that's made to be in those vicinities and wash your feet really well. Watch your feet, take care of them as best as you can. As far as this fresh foam goes, these shoes are extremely comfortable. They're difficult to walk in for me because there's a stability issue. They're so soft. And so it's easier to run at low speeds in these shoes, just like the Brooks, but it doesn't feel like I have to run as fast as I did in the Brooks. But the Brooks being so much lighter, the Brooks Hyperion Elite that I was wearing last week that are so much lighter, because they're so much lighter and more breathable, my feet definitely didn't feel as beat up over the same amount of time. And in either event, these did save my feet from feeling too beat up or as beat up as some of my less cushioned shoes. And so that translates into less foot pain, less knee pain, etc. But since these shoes were not as soft as the Hyperion Elite, I didn't feel this weird need to run as fast. The instability wasn't exactly the same. So I was able to run at my more average 15-minute pace. And in fact, I tried to start out going at a 17 minute per mile pace, but I kept going about 15 minutes a mile. So I just let that ride. And I was doing negative splits towards the end. And again, I really could have gone the extra distance to cover the half marathon, but since this basically is just an incremental increase approach towards the marathon that I may or may not be able to complete, I didn't want to go too far and actually damage my feet or any other part of me. And so I just made a moderate improvement over the distance that I made last week in order to tell you what I wanted to tell you, and that is the slower that I start out, the more comfortable of a pace, the more steady that I go, and the more that I don't try to burn myself out by running up the uphills, the more that I just take the levels at a good speed and increase my speed as I'm running downhill. In other words, working with the terrain that I was given, I was still able to cover almost half the distance of a marathon. Let's just call it over a third of the distance of a marathon without too much trouble. And my first drinks that I had were when I got to this car. That was the other reason that I took a detour and decided to stop, was I wanted to get my pre-mixed electrolyte drink and also my tall glass of water. And so I thought I would restart my run after this initially, but I decided against it well before I actually started to sit down and take these drinks. Mostly because, again, there's not a rush to get in the distance right now. Mostly right now, the only thing I'd like to do is to continue to get in my gradual improvements that allow me to feel confident that I can complete moderate amounts of distance without any kind of pain, that I can improve my speed, that I can improve my overall health, and that I also can improve my mental approach in terms of how it is that I communicate what I'm communicating here and elsewhere. In this realm, Run, Walk, Run allowed me to not so seriously tax my physical capabilities while seriously working off some of that fluid, some of those toxins that were taking so long to come out of me in the past. And for that, I've got to say that I can definitely, I can notice the gradual and moderate improvement that I've experienced over the past months. Fasting and continuing to exercise, although at a lesser volume, definitely helped to springboard the process. And all in all, the journey has been overwhelmingly positive. Thanks for staying positive on this channel with me. I hope that you're having a great day. Until next time, don't forget to check out those Run, Walk, Run techniques by putting a search into your either your search engine or into the search field for this platform itself. And basically, most of all, don't forget to enjoy yourself. And while you're out there, do yourself a favor and try to consider taking less with you and just trying to plan around maybe returning to wherever you left from to get your refreshments. You know, if you can avoid it, don't take out all those gel packs and energy things and one-time use bottles that a lot of people are apparently losing on the trails for some reason. Until next time, thanks for subscribing. Peace, love, and all that old school stuff.